evening, all. So just before coming to DICE, we were thinking how much time we should take. It's not that we don't want to discuss. It's like it's a last session what we have, and we are holding between the awards as well. So we'll try to conclude the discussion as limit as possible. So we have been hearing on the panels. Multiple secretary leaders have come on the panel, and everyone are discussing on the one topic, which is a digital transformation. I'm sure everyone in the organization as well as the personal level must be experiencing on the digital transformation. Recently, we got the news like 2000 note will be no more new note will be circulated, but I don't think that kind of impact which we got during the demonetization, we are able to see that because everyone are using a digital payment systems as well. But there is a critical component attached to digital platforms. Like it doesn't matter how good a digital app you have or how good digital solution you have. One bridge or one issue can take down those complete reputations. So starting with that, so I'll keep this open for any panelists so they can take this questions from their side. So how as a BFSI strike a balance between innovation, risk management and compliance in this digital journey as well as compliance with the regulatory requirement?
Yeah, thank you. See, banking, as all of us know, is the technology adopted in the most heavy manner. Because now all of us are using our mobile phone for all the types of banking services. So the basic thing is the only thing we have to use banking is the only mobile number we should have. See, if I transfer money to somebody else, I should have only mobile number, nothing else. So the base is banking is now a telecom business actually. Without telecom, banking is not there. So what is the base now? The telecom sector is the base for banking now. So everything is digitized. At the same time, along with the convenience, there's risk also coming because every data is in every mobile phone, every laptop or every instrument. So the data is everywhere. So the risk is also coming along with that. So it is our responsibility, bank's responsibility to contain the risk and give the safe system for banking. Now, when we say the risk, see now when the mobile communication or mobile phones were introduced, it was not the intention of doing banking or this type of secure transaction. It was just for a communication like that, maybe some SMS or voice and all. But now what are we doing? We are using that communication for safe banking, safe transfer of data. Similarly, now most of the banks introduced WhatsApp banking. WhatsApp is not meant for that actually, but we are using that platform for doing banking business. So the risk is obvious there. So we have to ensure our customers' data is protected because the banking is always on trust. Okay, when customer puts money in the bank, so the trust only is this banking is established. Yeah. So and when we say the customer is expectation, okay, by respecting the customer expectation, at the same time, I would say that it is more than our expectation, not because of customers. Because when the in manual days also customers were happy, they were doing business with the banks. Now, when we say the digitization, because if somebody has introduced something, they got the benefit of that one, so they are expecting from other banks also. So it is our expectation that we should get more customer convenience than customers. And customer, they will always see the convenience, but it doesn't mean that they don't want security. They take it for granted because they themselves know that the security is embedded there. Security is always there. Nobody will say that I don't want security, I want only convenience. They know that security is there. So that is our duty to protect their interest. Yeah, that's
very well said. So what I can get is we are using a technology for business. Technology is a business driver. What I get, and also the security is always a part of whatever the solutions we implemented from the BFSI segment. Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. See, as far as the cooperative banks are concerned, we are actually late entrant to the digitization. And in last 5 years, the industry has completely moved away. Earlier, it used to be that public sector, private sector bank, they used to have digitization. But later on, during the demonetization and all, ultimately the cooperative banks realized the time has come that we must move on to the digitization. Earlier, it was not like that. Now, completely after demonetization, the situation was such: if you don't migrate yourself to digitization, you are nowhere in the industry. So, looking at the scenario, that every bank tried to migrate themselves, and everybody, even if they have resources, they don't have resources, they started migrating. And many of the banks started in the ASP model. In the ASP model, that in that scenario, what happens? Infrastructure lying with the other person, you are just sharing the resources. That kind of thing the banks have started. Regarding security is concerned, see, some way the other, the cooperative bank, the security is really a bit concern actually, because these banks are not that tech savvy. Security is one of the areas they are lagging behind. Almost every cooperative bank you talk about, barring few banks, many of the banks are having a security letharginess, and you might have been knowing there are some instances what happened in the cooperative segment, and that was the area where the management has realized now we must go ahead with the security. And the banks have started putting security layers. A lot of banks have already started. And if they don't have, they have started sharing the resources from the other people. And what is happening nowadays, if they don't have resources, they are trying to outsource it, the technology, and business portion is being used by the cooperative sector. This is what the scenario presently. And most of the banks are working on digitization, security, all those things are happening nowadays. And one more thing I would say regarding digitization in India. I'll tell you, I was in one of the meeting actually. India is one of the largest digitization uses in the entire world. If you take all together the US, Europe, America, US, Europe, the entire all combined together, the digitization, the transition is much more than that of these countries actually. Thank you.
Okay. Hi everyone. So I have a different approach on this because the question what the moderator has asked is about the innovation and the security governance. Striking a balance between two is as good as you're asking someone to walk the rope without any harnessing, right? So it is like that. So when we say we have to bring innovation because of the digital technologies, the way we are adapting this is of course will be served by a lot of fintechs companies. Now when you ask them or onboard these fintech companies within your company for any of the innovation that you want in your business that they want to drive, so they come up with their inherent risk because their core focus is only on the innovation that the business wants, not on the security as such. Correct. So they will come up with the models like the cloud that they have, either could be a SaaS, PaaS, or any of the cloud model that they will come up with. So it is up to us as the organization or as the security cyber security practitioner. We have to understand, analyze the risk, and see whether it is within our appetite or not. If it is not, then we have to see what are the compensating controls that we can embark on these and take the cautious call and proceed accordingly. I believe that's what I have to like to add.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. I would like to add a few points to that. So, basically, when we talk about innovation, compared to the otherwise conventional products, there are many gray areas. So, the risk is unknown in many cases. Just like what you mentioned, the fintech or other technology partners will have many ideas, but what are the risks rising out of the new models? So a proper analysis of that and ensuring appropriate mitigation controls, those are very much important when we go for innovation compared to going with the conventional products. That is very, very important.
Good evening, everyone. So, to add on this point, whenever the risk is not in our hand, we can have different approaches, just like compensatory control and highlighting the risk to the board or the management team, so that in future we can comply with the regulatory guidelines that we are having this type of the risk, and we have highlighted our higher management, so that we can comply with our regulator or some of the auditors.
So I just probably forgot to mention. Sorry, Basil. You know, the other part that we have to look at it is the data that we share with these vendors or any of the innovation, vendors when we add them. Because from the business perspective, they won't mind sharing any number of data or any type of data with business because they want the output. Correct. But as a security practitioner, we have to be very ensure that what kind of data they're sharing, where they're storing, how are they keeping the data in their either data center or the cloud platform, what are the permissions and things like that. There's so many things that we have to look as a information security practitioners. So I believe this is one of the critical area that we have to understand.
Yeah, thanks, Dhiraj. You rightly pointed out because we are majorly dependent from BFSI sector because everyone from BFSI sector we are heavily dependent on the partners. So like we offboard certain tasks to the partners where we share them the lot of the critical informations, and finally the data which is the key to everything. So that is also getting shared. So this brings to me to my next question. So like how what is the security measures one should take as a part of a BFSI for protecting both the organization as well as the customer data?
Yeah, this customer data is to be protected at all levels because now this privacy bill is coming. So privacy of data is at most important. So data can be in various stages. We get data can be in the storage or data can be in the motion. So everywhere there are techniques and tools to protect that one. Whether it is encryption or like safe backup, then second factor authentication for accessing the system, identity access management. There are so many ways. And in addition to that, banks are continuously monitoring the transactions on real-time basis. That is the main thing. Every transaction is monitored. There are tools available. The fraud risk tools are available. Every transaction is monitored real-time basis, and if any anomaly is found, immediately the customer is alerted, or even the transaction got rejected. So this based on the risk measurement, we can have this tolerable level of amount or this whatever the rule basis for alleged that we are doing. And of course, this customer is getting all the information. Whatever the customer is getting transactions, immediately he will get the SMS message so that if any anomalies that he can report immediately. That is the idea behind that one. Second, nowadays customer can set his own limits for all transactions. If, for example, if a credit card, debit card is there, he can open or close the card himself, so that whenever he want, he can open the card. Similarly, he can set limit for various transactions, whether it is a POS, cash withdrawal, any type of transaction. So if the customer is educated, this fraud risk is very, very less. And if any customer is not knowing how to use all these things, then there is a risk in that.
Yeah. So just to add, but like what need to be done in that case? Because you rightly mentioned that in case of certain educated users, they can understand. Okay, this thing need to be adjusted. But we also like India. We mentioned that it is a growing economy. So in those scenarios, what is the control which a bank or the BFSI segment should have? So those solutions are protected within it. Bhaskar, if you can answer.
See, the role of security person is it's a different altogether. We not only have to secure the customer transactions, but also have to secure our infrastructure also. Because even a single intrusion into our infrastructure, which can actually wipe out everything. So what we are doing, we are working on a multi-layer security layers. First, at the defense level, we are blocking all the ports which is required. Only we are allowing only those which are required. We are not allowing anything, everything through. Second level, the endpoints are we are securing by putting the EDR and XDR solution that we are doing it. Apart from that, we are working on a DLP solution where everything is blocked at the gateway level only. Nothing will be allowed until unless it is approved by anybody. The final what we are working right now is the micro segmentation. Micro segmentation is one area where even the hacker has to think twice. Suppose he intruded into one area and again he could not do it. Again he wanted to go another area. Then he has to completely do a redo again. So that one level what we are doing right now is the micro segmentation we are working. Most importantly, what we are trying to do is that we are going to train our own people first. our own people. We started at large scale. We started because being a cooperative bank, some way the other, the people are a bit different altogether in the security layer. So we are giving them training at our internal level, external level also, all sort of things at the transition level, the social media level, almost every level, how to use it, how to use the phishing attack, how they work on it, and what are the open, what they don't have to open. The complete awareness we are creating for the staff also, for the management level also, at every level we are doing. I think this is one area where every bank has to work, because internal, even the problem for the internal people is more than that of external, because even a single instance which can create a big problem for the bank.
Yeah, so to add on, banks collect a lot of customer information, and most of this customer information will be personal and also sensitive. So, from the security perspective, we need to do a lot of activities. The first thing, in my opinion, is and the new bill also, the draft bill also has adequate clauses for ensuring the security of the data. The first thing we should do is that while collecting the data itself, collect only the essential data. So that is basically minimize the data. Then once the data is collected, do the classification of that data. So prioritize according to the sensitivity of that particular data, and wherever when the data is sensitive, we need to ensure that there are more controls. So like other speakers mentioned, right from the physical and logical access controls to the permissions at the end user level, like whether it is downloadable at the end user, etc. There are controls needs to be ensured at every step. And finally, even if someone gets an access in an unauthorized fashion, they should not be in a position to use the data. That is where technologies like encryption, then etc. comes in. Then even when encryption is done, whether the encryption and decryption keys are managed in a secure fashion, those are also very relevant, because otherwise, if somebody in an unauthorized fashion gets access to the data, as well as he gets access to the keys also, then he can very well decrypt the data and make use of that. So basically, security has to be deployed at multiple layers. Then only institutions who collect data can ensure security of the data.
Yeah, to add on this, so if a employee is having some sort of customer data, so we can implement the DLP solution, so that if somebody tries to send the data outside, so we can capture over there. And also we can, if we are not encrypting the data, so we can have the DB level encryption instead of application level. So if someone from outside found the data, so it won't be usable for the attacker or the someone else.
Okay, so I just want to take a step back here, and we all talking about the customer data, right? So in terms of we all are some of the other customer for some of the other service provider, right? Let's just assume, rather not to assume, we all know that it's just that we can't prove that our data is already there with someone, right? It is already there in the market, available for someone to sell it and someone else to consume it. Now, the point that we want to understand is how do we secure our data? Like me being from the insurance sector, I have to ensure that what is my exposure? What is the exposure of my customer data, which I want to protect? Once I understand that, once I have the visibility around it, once I have the access, brokered around it, then I will be able to have a better controls around it, rather than, just focusing on the controls, which is at the uh, internal to our employees and everything. But I believe the focus should be more on our external exposure, which we have to more focus on.
So what do I understand from the discussion is like, first we need to understand what is the data, where is the data, and what kind of controls we can apply on that data. So like Bhaskar mentioned, to have uh, security, Bhaskar and Biju both mentioned that to have a security at each level. So it should not be that only we are protecting the data which is on the perimeter or at the end or the internal network. It has to be protected at each level. And because this data which we normally collect for the analytics purpose, so what is the mechanism or the what's the approach which BFSI segment you take so that this data can be utilized in improving the customer experience?
I believe data lake is one of the practice that every other organization is doing. Wherein they take the data from each and every other system that they have and trying to do some analytics over it. That's where your data actually lies. Most of the data lies within that. Then you have a data march in that data lake, which is specific to a line of business. So that's I mean, it's kind of the ocean of your data within the organization which is lying there. So if you ask me that you have to secure some, so that will be one of your crown jewel apart from your core application.
So is there any enhancement which, like, you have a data, you use that data for product enhancement or for the customer?
Yeah.
So this data generally used by as I was saying, it is used by business to do some analytics on the customer behavior, on the customers. What do I say? The understanding of the customers, the patterns, the way customer trying to spend or trying to browse the products, and things like that. So there are various analytics that the business does, and based on that, they take decisions based on some AI/ML methodology. They come up with the predictions that this is what would be the next ask from the customer, and then they go back and see whether they have that things in their LOPs or not. So I believe that's one of the things that the business does.
One point to add is that this analysis can be used for the benefit of both the organization as well as for the customer also. From the organization perspective, it can be analyzed and used for upsell, cross-sell, etc. Whereas from the customer perspective, that analysis can be made use for giving a better feel of using the application. Like a simple example, remembering the previous browsing history and popping up pages in accordance with that. Or if you look at applications like Amazon and all, if we have purchased certain item multiple times, next time when there is a discount on that particular product, when we log in to the application, we get a pop-up that there is a discount on this. Do you want to buy? So like that, we can give customized messages like that, etc. So in both ways, we can make use of that.
Yeah, Biju rightly mentioned. We can use this kind of data for both improving the customer experience as well as the protecting the customers. Like we normally in a BFSI, we have fraud risk management solutions which take all the logs, and basis on then we can decide, okay, if this particular users, like suppose if Basil as a user normally access from the mobile devices and suddenly he is accessing from web browsers, then those kind of security controls can be implemented. So this will be my final questions for all the panelists. So can you just share your experience on the successful digital transformation which has been implemented at your respective organization and how you measure those benefits?
Yeah. In our bank, all types of transactions are available in digital mode. Customer will be able to do any type of transaction, and for same transaction, also different channels are there. For example, doing a transaction, there are internet banking, then mobile banking, UPI. There are so many channels. All banks have, not only my bank, all this. And this digital lending platform also is there. Lending also through end-to-end lending without any manual intervention, that is also implemented. Customer can apply for a loan, retail loan, and through straight through processing, the loan will be at the end-to-end it will be function, and with customer will be able to know the status of his application also. So that is another journey of the digital transformation. And now we are going for this omni-channel, this complete digitization of so that in addition to this regular banking retail transactions, everything will be through digital, because it can be treated as a digital bank within the bank. That is we are planning.
I just wanted to add one thing. See, digitization, once we started, the transition, everything is moving toward digitization. Earlier, if I compare my own bank, today we are having 85% total transaction, 85% transaction are through digitization. So the kind of transaction are taking place because everybody want convenience, everybody want transaction on the move. They don't want to go to branch or want to do even now the kind of cash which earlier people used to do. I was in my native place. They don't use cash nowadays. Just scan it and make payment. Well, it has the thing have changed like this. I'll give you one example. I was in Bangkok. There was one CIO conference. Trust me, the level of transaction, the level of digitization India is using, people are really shocked on that. There were around 200 CIOs in Bangkok, and the level of transition we are doing digitization, they are shocked. They are saying, how can you make a payment using a mobile number? How can you make a payment? This is the kind of evolution that has taken place.
Yeah, I totally agree with you because we heard some panelists. He was referring that they have only 17 branch and they are serving 400 cities.
Correct. So I just like to continue what Mr. Bhaskar has just said. On the digital platform now, it has become so mobile friendly. So I'll give you my own example. Like once you write a check and give it to the other person will deposit, right? And then in case if there is a minor mistake in your sign or signature, then ideally the older process was that the check will come back to the bank, and then you have to go collect the check. Now with the digitization, what they have done is they just simply SMS you that this is a check which has a minor, send this code if it is yes you want to process the check, and send no if you want to stop this check. So it is within the seconds you just approve your check. I mean, that saves a lot of time, even at the branch operations, even as a customer for you, that you don't have to go there all the way. The payment is getting through, within seconds. So that's amazing. I will say, yeah, that's amazing digital transformation examples.
Yeah, so if you look at any bank, all banks are trying to capture the business of millennials, and not only millennials, even others are also now looking at convenience. So the footfalls in the branches are coming down compared to previous years. So from my bank also, what I can say is that we have focused on digital transformation for the past multiple years, even right for the more than 20 years. And as a result, what we have achieved is that if you take retail customers, more than 92% of the transactions are now done digitally. Customer can do any kind of right from account opening, even signing an agreement for a home loan, or he can do in a digital fashion. So basically, we are trying to follow the India Stack principle of presence-less, cashless, and paperless. And in overall transactions also, 90% we are able to do online fashion.
In our bank, we have implemented, or you can say developed one application to onboard the customer online through the digital mode. He can open his account, he can order a checkbook, debit card, can generate PIN, he can do his full KYC, and we have achieved that. Means we are saving tons of paperwork from the digital technology.
So what I can summarize is like everyone has gone through digital journey, which also help the organizations to attract the customers as well as the same time help the customers to, like in term of travels or in term of use. So that's digital transformation is helping. So that was our last so in case if anyone has any questions, they can ask. We are having 1 minute.
It was a nice discussion. So everybody is talking about the digitization, and you have all focused how the accounts or customer onboarding is happening through digitization without any interference. I would like to draw your attention of recent RBI guidelines, where RBI says that banks and financial institutions has to focus how know your customer can happen beyond the digitization channel also. So if all banks and financial institutions are focusing on digital onboarding and convenience is there for the customer, but they also increase the fraudsters account opening into the system. So how you can address that? How you can assess that yes, it is a real person through video KYC, or the person is genuine while onboarding into the bank?
So I believe, sorry, though I'm not from the bank, but I have a banking experience in my total this career. So the video KYC, as you rightly said, is the answer to that, wherein these fintechs, they have the ways in which it does the complete automation, complete verification, and everything. Whenever to identify whether the person is actual or not, it'll ask me few things like to raise your hand with your Aadhaar card and things like that. So that will capture your face and everything all together, and then there is a verification process at the back end. I believe the guys from the bank can add much to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, to add
Yeah.
on,
Yeah, where if it is Aadhaar number, we are verifying from UIDA whether it is a correct person, or if it is PAN from income tax. That type of things we are ensuring, and at the minimum, in the initial level, some transactions are restricted also, so that to get a comfortable position of the customer. Otherwise, all this KYC, because main problem for the fraud is the KYC only. So that we are ensuring.
yeah, to add on, so basically, when we talk about cybersecurity, we say about multiple layers of controls or defense in depth, like that we say. So when we move to digital platforms, or the more we digitize, we will have to face newer and newer operational risks like this. So when we are doing the onboarding in a fully online manner, certainly, as you rightly mentioned, there are new kinds of risk. It cannot be fully mitigated with a one single process or one control. So at the onboarding level itself, that is when the video KYC process is happening. At that time itself, we have to follow various rules. The RBI, they themselves have now prescribed multiple kind of rules which have to be followed while doing or completing the video KYC process. So that will reasonably ensure that the person who is opening the account, there is no impersonation. But that alone will not be enough in the current period to stop fraudulent account openings. We need to have multiple controls again once the account is onboarded, like cooling period for transactions. Then even after that, some of the fraudsters take an approach like they will open an account, keep it idle for a period of 3 to 6 months, and then start using it for fraudulent activities. So transaction monitoring activities are also very, very important when the accounts are opened in a real time, online fashion. It's not only at the time of onboarding, but during the operations also.
And to add on to this, in starting we open half KYC account in which the user does not require to give his Aadhaar or other details. He can open account, but with limited functionality and limited amount of the transaction. Once he do the full KYC, his ID is verified on the NPCI portal using the Aadhaar only. After that, we can say that it is a legitimate user. And in the recent time, RBI came up with one guideline that we need to clean up the short-lived email addresses from our database. So that on the periodic basis, we do the cleanup of the short-lived email addresses to check whether the email address is correct or not.
We can take one more question. It's already time up. Prashant, you're holding between awards. Huh?
Hello.
So don't blame
So-
us for delay.
Just one question for the banks, because normally recently what are the frauds are happening? They are mostly for the senior citizens. So any specific controls you are planning for a senior citizens where the fraud can be minimized?
There are also two parts. One is awareness creation for the customers. So that is very important, and every bank has to do that activity on a continuous basis. That is very important. Unless that is done, it is very much impossible. Two, again, the behavioral pattern, monitoring of behavioral pattern. Again, the earlier session we said about models. So the age of the customer also needs to be one of the parameters while we do the monitoring, like that.
Yeah. So just to add what Biju mentioned. So
I'll just add just one thing to this. See, every time we are thinking the transactions, the frauds are taking more in the senior citizen. I was at IDRBT for 2 days, yesterday and day before. Trust me, the frauds which are taking, that is between 21 to 30, which is much higher than that of senior citizen. I have a report, I can't show you that. But what we are thinking every time, this is a senior citizen who have been frauded. But instead of that, this is 21 to 30 age, which is more vulnerable than other people.
So just to add what Biju and Bhaskar mentioned, because first senior citizen normally, if you talk about my parents don't have online accounts. So okay, so first of all, they are still using that old-fashioned way. And second, we banking are already implemented some kind of FRM solution. So now we know which users we are capturing their data. We are using those data for the analytics purpose. What we also mentioned, like if in case someone is using a emulator on Windows and installing Android, we will know okay, this is getting a transaction is getting initiated from emulator, which is normal, not done by normal human being. Or if in case of transaction are initiated through bot, so those kind of solutions are already available with banking. Bankings are taking those kind of actions, but I'm not sure if they are doing the blocking. But that is will be in the down the line will be the phase where we'll be able to take necessary action on that.
And in the 2021, RBI came up with the master direction for the digital payment security controls. In that, they have mentioned that there are 3 states which are means from which we are getting more and more frauds. One is Jharkhand, West Bengal, and I think so Bihar. So we have created some rules in our FRMS system to detect whether these are transactions are from these 3 states or not, and paying the more critical attention to these 3 states.
Thank you all. We'll be around. So in case if anyone has any questions, they can reach out to any panelists for that. Thank you.